Hello folks, welcome to the part 4 of Git Tutorials by workat.tech. In this part, we'll be creating a new project and we'll be initializing that as a Git repo, add some code to it, and then we'll be dealing with few Git commands to basically add it to the staging area, commit it, and then push it to a cloud destination like GitHub. So let's switch to my screen. So let's start. So you can actually either use your terminal or the Git bash UI that you actually got when you actually downloaded it on Windows. Or else you can actually use the terminal that is within that is available within the VS Code also. Okay, so I'm going to actually use VS Code and the terminal within that because I find that a bit more easier. Okay, while we are dealing with a lot of projects. Okay, so anyway, what you actually have to do is you can actually go to the directory and create that particular folder where you're actually going to create the new project. Okay, and after that you can actually follow me. So let me open my code. Okay, and I'm actually going to work on this particular folder. Okay, so I'm going to create a new folder within that called as Git project, because that's basically what we're actually doing, right? So now what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually opening a terminal with that particular folder as the path. Okay, so as you can see over here, it has actually been opened. Yeah, it has been actually opened. So now what we can actually do is we can actually initialize this particular folder as a Git repo. Okay, basically adding all the necessary things for supporting Git as a version control system. Okay, so if you can second the after doing this particular thing, if you can actually check your folder, you'll actually see a hidden folder basically having all the files and all those kind of things. It's hidden because we need not tamper with the files within that particular thing. Okay, so let's do it. So get init is the command for that particular thing. So init stands for initialize and get is the keyword that we actually used in the previous videos also. Okay, so yeah, get init. Okay, so there are some things that you actually can go through, and after that you can actually see that initialized empty git repository in user this particular directory. Okay, so yeah, that is actually done. Okay, so I'm clearing that. So now what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to create a file inside this particular folder. What can we call it? Let's call it demo.js. Okay, a JavaScript folder. Okay, file, simple JavaScript file, and let's add a something simple. So const no, we can actually make it more simpler. Okay, console.log hello world. Okay, so we actually added this particular thing, this particular line of code. Okay, so if required you can actually test whether the code is working fine or not. So I'm just going to check it, demo.js, and it's working fine. Okay, so yeah, so now what we're actually going to do is actually to start dealing with the real git commands. Okay, so now we have actually a file over here and it has been initialized. This particular folder has been initialized as a git repo, and we made some changes to the file. So now the command that I'm actually going to introduce to you is Git Status. Okay, as the name suggests, Git Status actually shows the status of this particular thing. Okay, so you can see that no commits yet. It's saying that there is one untracked file. We are not tracking this particular demo.js file, right? We haven't done anything to that, right? So there's this untracked file, and it's saying that use git add and then the file, or basically the file name, to include in what will be committed. Okay, so and they're saying that git add is the command for that. Okay, basically to track it. So let's do that. Okay, and by adding this particular thing, basically using the command git add, this particular file will be moved to a staging area. Okay, basically the file of the changes. Okay, and I'll talk about the staging area in a while. Okay, git add and then demo.js. Okay, so that has been actually added. Okay, so if you are checking the git status now, it's saying no commits yet since we haven't made any commits as of now, but it's saying changes to be committed, and then this has actually changed to green, which basically means that this is actually being tracked now. Okay, earlier it was like untracked files, now it's like tracked files. Okay, we actually use git status for checking this particular. So now coming back to staging area, so I'll just put it this way, basically a simple way, so that you can actually understand better. Okay, the staging area is actually an area between let's say adding this particular file, basically using the git add command, and then finally committing this particular thing to the version control system. Okay, so this particular file demo.js is actually right now in the staging area. It has not yet been committed to the version control system. Okay, basically the version control system is not yet let's say keeping track of basically doing whatever it is meant to do for this particular file. Okay, in order to do that, we have to actually commit it to the version control system. Okay, so basically staging area is basically that particular place where we actually saying that this particular file is ready to be committed. Okay, and but it has not yet been committed. That's in simple words what staging area is. Okay, so in order to move it from staging area to, let's say, really committing it to the version control, we need to actually make use of the git commit message. Okay, so git commit is a keyword for that, -m. So over here we need to actually include a message, basically commit message. Okay, in simple terms, it is something a short sentence or a line which actually gives a brief idea of what that particular change is. Okay, so what I'm actually going to give you here is started the project. Okay, so basically we just started this with particular project, right? So basically this message should be giving a high level idea of what that particular change is. Okay, so after adding that git commit message started the project, just end it. As you can see over here, one file changed, one insertion, and it has been actually done. And now if you're actually checking git status again, it's saying nothing to commit, working tree is clean, because there was a change, we added that to the staging area, and then following that we actually committed that, okay, to the version control system. Remember, this is not yet on GitHub because we haven't actually connected this particular thing. Okay, but yes, coming back, there is no commit, working tree is clean, because after doing all these things, basically committing it, we haven't made any changes. Okay, so now what we can actually do is let's make another change. Let's say const a is equal to 1. Okay, I guess the copilot is going to help me a lot. Okay, and let's check whether basically let's implement a checking condition over here. Let's say if a is equal to 1. Yeah, so the copilot is doing wonders over here. Okay, console.log a is 1. Else what can be done? If a is not is equal to 1, we can actually put it something like, okay, we don't need to actually use that particular thing, right? A is not 1. Okay, if a is equal to 1, a is 1. If else a is not 1, right? As simple as that. Okay, so if required, maybe you can check whether this particular file is working fine or not. Node demo.js, yeah, it's working fine. And then let's check git status. Okay, yeah, it's saying that one modified file. Okay, let's add that to the staging area, demo.js, done. And then again let's check the status. It's saying modified, there's actually changes in this particular file, but it has not yet been committed. Okay, so let's actually check git basically commit it. Okay, commit message, what can be the message? Add array check. Okay, basically that's what we actually did, right? Basically a simple message to actually give an idea of what that particular change is. Okay, git commit, add array check. Okay, so now that has been actually added. And git status, it's clean. Okay, working tree is clean. So we actually made two changes, basically added that to the staging area and committed it after that. So now what I'm actually going to show you is, so right till now we actually looked at git status, git add, and then git commit, right? So now what I'm actually going to show to you is something called as git log. Okay, and as the name suggests, it is actually keeping a log of all the changes that we're actually making, basically all the committed changes. Okay, so opening git log, that will actually show us two changes. Basically the first one, that is I started the project and then added a check. As you can see over here, it's giving few more details like author Aravind, that is me, my email ID that we actually gave in the previous one, and then the date, okay, of the change. Okay, date and time as well. Okay, so these are the things that we can actually find on git log. So this will actually be a lot helpful in a bigger project. We can actually clearly get access to all the changes. Okay, basically this particular commit ID is something that we can actually make use to actually move between, let's say, different versions and all. Okay, basically to revert back and do all those kind of things. We are not going into that much detail in this particular part. Let's just focus on this particular thing itself. Maybe we can make one more change. Okay, basically I'll just change this to a is not 1 and but the value of a is k, and I'm going to actually print that particular value of a. Okay, there's some error. Let me check that. Okay, yeah, fix that. Okay, so let me just clear it. Node demo.js, it's working fine, and I'll just add it. Git add demo.js, git commit. Let's give a message, change with the check, committed that. And now what we are actually going to do is we are actually going to push the changes. Okay, so in order to push that, the command that needs to be used is git push. Okay, so what are we doing with push? We are actually pushing this particular changes to, let's say, a cloud destination, and in this case we are actually going to use GitHub. Okay, so let's try that. Git push. So now what is it showing? So it's saying that no configured push destination. Either specify the URL from the command line or configure a remote repository using git remote add name URL. Okay, and then push using the remote name. Okay, so what we can actually do is basically what it's saying is like there is no destination. Okay, so in order to do that, what we can actually do is let's say, so anyway I'll mention one more thing. So if you actually click on, let's say, the source control thing, and then from here you can actually select remote. You can actually add remote from here. Okay, so if you're doing this, you can actually get the URL of your repository and paste it over here, and or else you can do the same using this particular command terminal also. Okay, so let's do it that way. And for that, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to my GitHub profile, going to create a new repo. What was it? Git. Okay, something happened over there. Yeah. File name, folder name is Git projects. That is available. Let's make it public itself. We don't need a readme file. We don't need any of those files. I'm going to create this particular repository. And once that is done, this is the URL that we actually need. We can just click on here to actually copy it. Then I'm actually coming back to here. I'm going to actually use the first command. Okay, git remote add. We can actually give a name for this particular destination. Let's say I'm going to give it git project, or what was it, git projects itself, and then I'm going to paste the URL over there. Okay, and now after that I'm actually going to enter. So now the source has actually been added, and now I'm going to give the push message. Okay, basically pushing it to GitHub. So okay, yeah, something happened over there, which is basically git, it should be git push and the name, right, git projects. So now it's giving me another message that is basically to push the current branch and set the remote as upstream, use git push set upstream git projects master. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this particular command, paste it over there, enter. Okay, and now this particular thing is asking me to sign into GitHub using let's say this my VS Code. Okay, and I'm going to actually do that. So you can do it for your own system as well. And yeah, so now that has actually been done. Okay, so now as you can actually see over here, what is actually being done is basically this is actually pushing all my changes to GitHub repo that we actually created a bit earlier. Okay, and now what can be done? Objects, there was 9 things, basically different things, and yeah, it's working. Yeah, so now everything is done. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to this particular project, it was empty earlier. I'm going to reload it now. As you can actually see over here, we can actually find demo.js. that is a file that we're actually working on, right? And then all the code that we actually added, right? So another thing is, if you're actually going to, let's say, click on history over here, you can again see all the commit logs. Okay, started the project, added a sec, changed the sec, and basically if I want to go to the first version, I can just click on that particular thing and it's available over here. Okay, as you can see over here. So that is basically what we actually did right now. Okay, created a new file, initialized it as a GitHub repo, git repo, then added the code to staging area, committed it, dealt with status and log commands, and then we finally pushed it to, what can I say, this particular GitHub. Okay, GitHub was our source destination. So that's what we actually did in this particular thing. Okay, let's look at few other things in the next videos. Yeah, but before that, I'll just show you one more thing. Let's add one more thing over here. Console.log. This is the beginning, just a random message. Okay, beginning of the program. Okay, oh, basically it was the end, right? End. Okay, yeah. So we added that. I'll just clear this. We are going to add it, git add demo.js, then git commit message. What can we give? Added the end of the program message, added that, and then we are actually going to push it. Once we set up all the GitHub remote and all those kind of things, it's pretty much done. Okay, you can actually then go ahead and directly add it to the staging area, commit it, and then push it to the destination. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's just the first time setting up difficulties. Okay, now let's come back to here. As you can see here, the previous change was 7 minutes ago. I'm going to reload it. As you can see, the previous change was 29 seconds ago. Basically the commit message added the end of the program message. If I'm actually opening this particular thing, you can actually see it over here. That is we have that particular last message that we actually added. Again, going to history, we can actually see all the 4 things over here. The same is the case over here. If I'm actually going to log the details, yeah, added the end of the program message, changed the check, basically everything is actually available over there. Okay, yeah, so that's it regarding this particular part, and in the next one we'll be looking at, let's say, few more things which should be helpful while we're actually working on a project. Okay, yeah, do subscribe to our channel in order to be notified whenever we are sharing a new video on our channel.